What's going on, Playdate community? Welcome back to another tutorial. My name's Franchovy, and this week I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do something very important for your project. Now, we're going to be setting up version control, otherwise known as Git. What is version control? Good question. I like your curiosity. Basically, version control is super useful and versatile, and we're going to learn how to set it up. And you guys will be able to follow this tutorial series by using Git, basically. You can jump around to previous episodes. You can make sure you can find out what's wrong with your code or just catch up to the latest any point in time if you want. Let's get started. We're going to be using the terminal today. So this little bash right there, you can use VS Code, but I recommend you use the terminal for today, learn how it works, and then you can use the visual tools if you really want to. But honestly, if you have a foundation in using the terminal, then you're going to be better off. If you're on Windows, sorry, I'm going to have to do another one for you guys. I mean, you guys can still follow along. All of Git and some of the terminal commands are basically going to be the same, but there might be some slight differences. Feel free to just drop them in the comments if you run into any issues, and we can kind of correct as we go. So first thing I'm going to do is navigate to my actual project. So Playdate tutorials, tutorial 4, and tutorial 4 again. So I'm now in my project, and I'm gonna go ahead and type in git space init. Now, and so you should get this message. If it tells you that you don't have Git installed, then should have installed Git. Go back to episode 1. I'm kidding. Go to git-scm.com and you should find the link to download Git there. Check it out in the resources below. Now, we've just created the Git repository, but we haven't started tracking any files. So we're going to go ahead and type in git space add space dot. Now, this adds all your files to the Git repository, and we're going to type in git space commit. And then when you commit something, that basically means that Git is watching your files. When you tell it add, it means that Git has now got eyes on your files, and dot means everything. So it's looking at all your files. Git commit actually means that you're gonna take everything that Git is looking at right now and make a snapshot and put that in the history books. And from now on, you're gonna be able to jump back to that point. It's super flexible and versatile. You can even just burn the book and Git can still bring back the files that were in that book. Honestly, crazy stuff. We'll get into it. So for that reason, you need to give your commit a name. So we're going to, after git commit, you're going to do space -m, open quotes, and then type in initial commit. Nice and original. So as you can see, we've actually added some files here that are not great because we've, for example, added this .pdx. We've added this ds_store file. I mean, depending on who you're using Git for, if you're using it personally, maybe you don't care about any of this stuff. But if you're sharing this project, for example, I know that .luark.json, like that one, for example, might have references to your local Playdate SDK path. So it might not apply to someone else. .ds_store, very useless. In this case, I'm going to leave the .vs code stuff because that might be useful to you guys. But one of them that's not useful is the .pdx because that's the output of our build process. The important files are the source files. So we're actually going to take care of removing these files from Git and telling Git not to track them. We'll do that in a little bit. For now, you've successfully started your Git repository. So good job, everybody. Nice one there. Now we're going to upload this stuff to GitHub so that you can share it with big data. So if you don't have a GitHub account, type in github.com and you're going to land on their fancy KPMG Mercedes-Benz homepage. Press sign up. Now I just fooled you guys. I'm already signed in. So just do the sign up if you're not signed up yet. And press new for a new repository. Now yes, thank you. I'm gonna originally name this Playdate tutorial, and of course, I already created a Playdate tutorial because this is take 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and name it my Playdate tutorial to make it even more original. Description: how to make your first game and I'm going to capitalize your first game for Playdate, because I'm here making your game. I'm leaving this on public. You can add any of these files if you want to, but I recommend you don't for the sake of this series, because we're going to get into creating them manually. And you can go ahead and create repository. Now, there's one thing that you have to do if you're just starting out and you haven't used Git yet or connected Git to GitHub. You're going to have to go up into this top right thing right here, this profile, go into your settings, and we're going to have to set up SSH. Now, SSH is a way basically that you can communicate with Git from your terminal, from your local instance, and it's secure. It's a public private key cryptography, you know, your classic security stuff. So we're going to create basically an SSH key, which allows your terminal to talk to GitHub and to really tell it like, hey, this is me. This is not somebody else stealing your code, uploading random crap. So we're going to call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it MacBook tutorial because I want a MacBook and this is a tutorial. And here we're going to actually follow a little step-by-step process. We're going to actually give it a public key so that it knows that we're the one signing the message with the private key. That's how public private key cryptography works, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the terminal, and I'm going to type in ssh-keygen. And so it's going to give me some prompts. So here it tells me enter a file in which to save key. If you don't have any other SSH keys, you can just press enter. I'm going to go ahead and type in tutorial key. Oh no, okay. Tutorial underscore key. And then I'm going to not put a passphrase. And so now I've got this tutorial key. Now, if I do ls of my home directory, I should see, which I don't, but it's ls-a. I should see basically tutorial key and a tutorial key.pub. Now, you don't want to share the contents of tutorial key unless you're me and you're doing a YouTube tutorial and you want to share it with the world. So hold on, where is this? I gotta try that again. Sorry, guys. So SSH keygen. So first one, I'm gonna actually tell it the path where I want this. Tutorial key, and then no passphrase. All right, perfect. Now you should see this random art image come out when you're done saving this. If you want, you can go ahead and type in cat and the path of your key, which you should see it right here. Your public key has been saved in. Now, you have a public and a private key. Make sure you're copying the public key, which starts with SSH RSA and ends with basically your device name. Copy the contents of this, the entire thing, including the SSH and the device name, and you just paste it into GitHub. Now you can press add SSH key, and basically now SSH on your local computer will communicate with Git, like Git knows to look into SSH and then talk to GitHub using the key you just created. So congratulations, guys. Let's upload our code. So you'll see here that they are giving you the instructions to get to the first commit. Now they want us to create a main branch, which is fair. So we're going to type in git branch dash capital M, and we're going to call it main. And we're going to do git remote add origin, and then we're going to add basically the URL. So it's nice and convenient that you have this here. We're going to do git space remote space add space origin space https ://github.com/your username / the name of your repo.git. Enter. All right, perfect. Now, last step, we're going to do git push -u origin main. All right, that's it. Your code is uploaded to GitHub. Now you have to refresh the page in order to see it, but what you should see is basically a bunch of stuff that has just been uploaded. So congratulations. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of setup to do because right now this is the most basic thing you could have ever done. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove some of these useless files. We're going to do that by creating a git ignore. So you guys can just copy the file. I'm going to link down below, but basically the git ignore looks like this. We're going to do vim.gitignore So we're creating a git ignore file. We're going to add what? .ds underscore store. So this is the whatever that file is. I'm going to also ignore the lua rc.json. I'm also going to ignore the outputs. So I'm going to do star asterisk .pdx. So I'm going to go ahead and hit :WQ to close that. So we've just added the git ignore. So we're going to use git space add space dot git ignore to add specifically the git ignore file. Then we're going to do git, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, continue. Git space commit -m, and we're going to say added git ignore. So again, here we've just created a commit, and if you want to push that to the remote repository, you're going to type in git space push, and that pushes it to the remote repository. Now, if you refresh the page, you'll see that actually that didn't change anything. We still have those files, so why aren't they being ignored? You actually have to tell Git to stop looking at the files, because git ignore doesn't prevent the, like, they're in the books, and so Git is telling you, hey, look, they're in the book. You have to tell Git to stop looking at the file and, you know, forget about it. Don't ever track this file again. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to type in git space remove. So rm, and we're going to type in space dot space -r to say recursive. And then we're going to do space again, dash cached, CACHED. Now this removes everything from Git. So if you wanted to, you could commit right now and literally like upload a blank history book. But what we're going to do is we're going to say git space add space dot again, and you'll see this time that the git ignore is now applying, because we're going to say git space commit space -m space ignore files. Ignore git ignore files. Okay. Close quotes, and you'll see that these files have been deleted from the Git. Git push. All right, perfect. Now it's looking better. Now I'll teach you guys some basics for Git. Let's get into it. So branch is the idea that you can have multiple things at once. So I'm going to type in a new branch. We're going to type in git branch, and I'm going to type in the name of my branch, which is like experimental underscore feature, for example. So if I now do git space log, so this is how you check where you're at within the, you know, it tells you where you are at in the history book. You'll see that basically it tells you the branch names, and it also tells you the origin, because maybe the origin is not up to date, or maybe you're not up to date. So it's really nice to see where you're at here. It's a little terminal colored thing. And you can see that this one is linked to both main and experimental feature. And if you press enter, you can see that go back into the history book. So we're now on experimental feature. And if I add, I don't know, like, nope, open dot. Can I do something weird here? Let's say main.lua. I've opened it with Nova. Yeah, bye now, everybody. I'm going to do something weird like print experimental feature. Okay, so I've just changed my menu.lua. Strange thing. If I do git space add space dot, and then again with commit experiment, then, and I push it, you're going to see that basically, oh wait, after you create your git branch, you're going to type in git checkout experimental feature. And then basically you can go into and change one of your files. So here, for example, we're just going to say vim source / main.lua. We're going to add in, like, you know, a print statement, print, this is an experiment. Okay, I'm going to save that. And so now if I do git add dot and then git commit -m experiment, end quote. Strange. Okay. Push. Then you'll see that basically we've actually gone ahead and created an experimental feature branch. Now, I think you need to do -u on that last push, but let me tell you guys, if you do certain things in your config for Git, it makes your life way easier when you're pushing and pulling. So just for reference, pulling means that you're actually taking the most up-to-date changes in the remote repo and bringing them into your project. And pushing is the opposite way around, where you've got some changes and you're sending them to the remote repo. Now, what if your remote repo has some changes and your local project has others? Basically, you end up with a kind of conflict there where Git doesn't know whether it should take the first ones, the remote ones first, or the local ones first. And so there's a very useful configuration thing right there for that situation, called rebase, which basically means that if you're pulling in from the other one, you're going to put your changes on top of what's coming in. And you don't ever have to deal with basically these. I mean, sometimes conflicts can happen. That's for another video. We're going to go into the git config file now. So again, I'm going to use Git. Feel free to use whatever text editor you want. And there's a in your home directory, there's going to be, no, not Git, ignore. There's going to be a file called .gitconfig. And so you open that up and you see that there's a bunch of stuff. Now, so here you can see that basically you have your editor, and then here you have some config. And so I'm going to share this file with you guys. It's very useful to have these ones here. Rebase equals true, and then prune equals true. So when you do git fetch, basically it gets rid of branches that have been deleted in the remote repository, so you don't end up with a forest of branches locally, and you stay nice and up to date. Now, I also use these, which are aliases, and you can add your own if you want to. They're very useful because basically, as you see, every time I type in commit, I actually just type in C, A, S, like for status. Status shows you where you're at in like the local system, whether you've added files, whether you've removed files, whether files have changed. Remove, this isn't a real thing. I tried typing in remove and it didn't work, so I think I gotta remove that. And then I've got these crazy ones here, which basically allow me to switch branches, get rid of everything, and you don't need to worry about these ones. So I'm gonna link that to you guys. The git config stuff is very useful. It helps you move your life along. We're back on GitHub, and you're seeing the experimental feature had pushes 2 seconds ago, which is nice and cool. We can type in, we can press, no, don't press that button. Pull request means something is merging into your main branch, which is how you update your main branch, or you could just use merge. All right, and I'm gonna show you guys one thing right here. You can type in git space log, and that it basically allows you to go back into history and see where you're at. And you can see that basically we've got the history of this experimental feature branch, but it's not the same as if you do git. I mean, if you're following this tutorial, then you'll see main right here, but I actually made a mistake. Git log main. I actually made a mistake and I added a commit to the main. So actually what I can do is copy this commit, what's called a hash, this complicated number here, and do git checkout, and the commit hash right there. So now I can actually tell the main branch to come back here. So I can do switch, I'm going to do git branch dash capital D main. So that deletes the main branch. Of course, this is local. You're not changing anything upstream, and you can always go and revert things if you want to. And then I'm going to do git switch dash C main. So this creates a new branch, main, where I'm at right now. And now if I do git log experimental feature, I can see that I'm up to date with what you guys are doing, which is basically going back to main here. But as you can see, the origin.main is not the same. So let's see what happens when I do git space push. There we go. We've got some rejections here. So basically you're telling Git, hey, like I want this history book to be the history book for main, and GitHub is telling you, no, that's impossible. I've got a history book, and your history book literally is telling me that some of this stuff doesn't exist. So I got to reject that. So what you do is that you force him, of course, just force him to delete that history book. Just make sure that you're aware of what you're doing. Now, okay, let's say we're in a situation where I actually messed up and I need to go back and get that original history book because I made a mistake when I pushed this other guy. Now, Git has your back. It's crazy, right? What I can do, and this starts to get complicated, so I'm not going to dive real deep into it, but you can type in git space ref log. So this is like a reference log of Git, and it shows you everywhere you were before. Just crazy, but yeah. And so instead of seeing like just the history book, you're actually seeing which pages of the history book you were looking at any point in time. So you can see head 9 is their initial commit, so that was 9 basically moves ago. Head 0, you're going from this thing to main. So if you want to, you can copy, because remember this main thing that was main before now has just a hash. So again, guys, you don't have to follow along as I'm telling you this stuff. We're going to type in git checkout, co, and then the name of this hash. And if I type in git log now, you'll see that, oh, I'm back here. Okay, as I told you guys, it gets complicated here. Like things are moving around a lot. Let's try this one. So ref log, and remember these are relative references, so they will change. Head 5. Okay, and git log. And now you can see that I'm on this commit that I used to be calling main, but now I forced the other history book to not do it. And so yeah, Git is very, very useful. Thanks for watching this, guys. You'll be able to download the Playdate tutorial anytime you want now using Git and get up to date with it. I'm going to keep separate branches for each tutorial, so it's nice and easy to keep track of where you are. And you know, if you're working on tutorial 3, you'll have a branch for tutorial 3 at the start and at the finish, so you can compare the code anytime you want to, check if you're making mistakes, or just restart and follow along again. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.